Marcus Hale discovers his dead wife had a daughter he never knew existed. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is what his mother-in-law knew, what she spent his money hiding, and why she'd rather die alone than let him find out the truth. The transfer goes through at exactly 9:47 a.m. on the 1st of every month. $500. Same account. Same woman. Marcus doesn't think about it anymore. His assistant handles it, has handled it for the past 6 years, ever since the funeral. Ever since he buried his wife Elena in a plot that cost more than most people earn in a year. He's standing in his corner office 60 floors above Manhattan when everything he thought he knew starts to unravel. Mr. Hale, his assistant's voice cuts through the intercom, sharp with something that sounds like panic. Jessica doesn't panic. In 9 years, she's handled hostile takeovers, federal investigations, and a stalker who sent Marcus pieces of his own childhood photos. There's a problem with the monthly transfer. Handle it. He doesn't look up from the contract that will crush his closest competitor. I can't. The account's been closed. His pen stops mid-signature. What do you mean closed? Margaret Reeves closed her account 2 weeks ago. The bank flagged it when the transfer bounced back this morning. Margaret, his dead wife's mother. The woman who raised Elena in a cramped Queens apartment on a nurse's salary, who clutched Marcus's hand at the funeral and whispered, "Thank you for making her happy," between sobs. He started sending her money the month after Elena died. Not because she asked. She'd never ask. But because it was all he could still do. Find out why. Jessica's silence lasts 3 seconds too long. Mr. Hale, I already tried. Her number's disconnected. I contacted her landlord. She moved out 3 months ago. No forwarding address. No one knows where she went. Something cold slides down Marcus's spine. People don't just disappear. Not without reason. Find her. Use whatever you need. He tells himself it's about responsibility. About honoring Elena's memory. But his hands are shaking. And hands that closed $8 billion in deals don't shake without cause. Jessica returns 3 days later with a folder and eyes that won't quite meet his. I found her, she says, placing the folder on his desk like it's radioactive. The first page is a death certificate. Margaret and Reeves. Deceased 4 months ago. Heart failure. Found in her studio apartment 3 days after she died, alone, by a landlord chasing late rent. The walls of his office seem to contract. Margaret is dead. Was dead. For 4 months. While he kept sending money to an account no one was checking, to a woman no one was mourning. There's more. Jessica's voice is barely a whisper. Of course there is. The next page is a bank statement. Margaret's account history. He sees his deposits, steady as a heartbeat. $500 on the 1st of every month. And then he sees the withdrawals. Every single month, the same day his money arrives, $500 goes out. Same amount. Same recipient. Claire Donovan. Who is that? I don't know yet. But Mr. Hale. Jessica's finger trembles slightly as it points to another line. This transfer started 7 years ago, 1 month before Elena died. The floor drops out from under him. 7 years. Before the cancer. Before the diagnosis that came 3 weeks before their second anniversary. Before he watched his wife waste away in a hospital bed, her hand in his, promising her everything would be okay when they both knew he was lying. Find out who Claire Donovan is. His voice doesn't sound like his own. And find out why Margaret spent 6 years sending her every dollar I gave her. The answer comes by sunset. Jessica is terrifyingly efficient when she needs to be. Claire Donovan, age 17, high school senior in Portland, Oregon. Moved there 7 years ago from New York, where she lived for exactly 3 months. The same 3 months Elena spent on what she called a soul-searching trip before they got engaged. The trip she never explained. The gap in her timeline she'd smile away whenever he asked, changing the subject with a kiss or a touch that made him forget he'd asked at all. Marcus pulls up Claire Donovan's social media. Her privacy settings are locked down, but her profile picture is public. And when he sees it, his heart stops. The woman has Elena's eyes. The exact same amber-flecked green that used to catch afternoon light in their bedroom. The same slight upturn at the outer corners. The same shape that made Elena look perpetually amused, like she knew a secret the rest of the world didn't. But Claire Donovan is 17 years old. Elena would have been 24 when this woman was born. His mind does the math it doesn't want to do, refuses to do. But the numbers align themselves anyway, brutal and precise. Elena was 15. Jessica, His voice comes out like gravel. I need everything on Claire Donovan. Medical records if you can get them. Birth certificate. Anything that tells me who her parents are. Mr. Hale, that might take. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it costs. I need to know by tomorrow. She leaves. The door clicks shut, and Marcus stands alone in his glass tower, staring at the photo of a woman who has his dead wife's eyes, understanding with horrible clarity that Margaret didn't disappear. She ran. From him. From the truth. From whatever she knew that was worth dying alone to protect. And if you think that's the deepest this goes, you haven't been paying attention. Jessica gets him the birth certificate by 6 a.m. Not the sealed file, Jessica adds. Just enough public index confirmation to point us to Portland and the hospital. Marcus hasn't slept. He's been sitting in his penthouse watching the city lights blur into dawn, Elena's face flickering through his memory like a film reel with missing frames. Every smile, every touch, every time she said, I love you, and he believed her without question. The document lands on his desk with a sound like a guillotine blade. Claire Marie Donovan. Born March 17th, 17 years ago, at Portland General Hospital. Mother's name, Elena Reeves. Father's name, unknown. The word, unknown, burns itself into his retinas. Elena had a baby at 15. Gave her up. Never told him. Not in 5 years of dating. Not through 2 years of marriage. Not even when she was dying, when she had nothing left to lose except his memory of her. She let him bury her with a lie. But Marcus doesn't have time to process grief because Jessica is still standing there, and her face has gone sheet white. There's something else. She slides another document across the desk. Claire's adoption records. They were sealed, but I found someone who could access partial archival indexes. Jessica doesn't meet his eyes. It wasn't official, and it wasn't cheap. If this ever becomes public, I was never here. Marcus doesn't ask how. He doesn't care. He just reads. Claire was adopted at 3 days old by Robert and Susan Donovan of Portland. Standard private adoption. Everything legal. Everything clean. Except for one detail. The adoption was facilitated by a lawyer named Richard Moss. And Richard Moss's retainer was paid by a shell company that Marcus recognizes instantly because he built his empire on recognizing patterns others miss. The shell company belongs to his own father. Marcus doesn't sit. He doesn't breathe. He just stares at the name like it might change if he blinks. How much time? He asks. Before what? Jessica says. Before this becomes public. Before someone notices I'm digging. Jessica hesitates. Mr. Hale, people always notice. Marcus's phone buzzes. Unknown number. No message. Just a single dot typing, then nothing. He locks his screen. Give me the transactions. Now. His hands go numb. When the word barely makes it out of his throat. Jessica has already checked. Her voice is hollow. The company was established 16 years ago, 1 month after Claire was born. It was dissolved 8 years ago, right after your father died. Marcus's father, the man who built the family's first fortune in real estate, who taught Marcus that everything has a price and everyone can be bought. The man who smiled at Elena across the dinner table and called her the best thing that ever happened to this family. The man who knew. Pull every transaction that company ever made. Marcus is standing now, pacing, his mind moving at the speed it does during hostile negotiations when one wrong move costs millions. Every payment, every wire transfer. I want to know exactly what my father paid for. It takes Jessica 4 hours. That's all I could reconstruct, she says. Some accounts were scrubbed. Others were rerouted through jurisdictions that don't cooperate. This is what survived. 16 years ago. $250,000 to Richard Moss for legal services. The adoption. 16 years ago. $50,000 to Margaret Reeves. Paid in cash. No explanation needed. 15 years ago through 8 years ago. $2,000 per month to Margaret Reeves. Regular payments. Never late. Never questioned. And then, 8 years ago, the month Marcus's father died, the payments stopped. That's when Margaret started receiving money from Marcus instead. That's when the guilt probably ate her alive. Watching Elena's widower send her money that felt like blood money because she knew what it was replacing. But there's one more line item that makes Marcus's stomach turn inside out. 16 years ago, a $500,000 wire transfer to Dr. Patricia Chun, fertility specialist. Marcus knows the name because 2 years into his marriage, after months of negative tests, he and Elena sat in Dr. Chen's office and heard the verdict. Severe endometriosis, scarring from a teenage pregnancy, conceiving almost impossible. Elena cried into his hand, whispering, "I'm sorry." Marcus told her it didn't matter. There were other ways. He loved her anyway. And she let him comfort her for a condition his own father had already paid to document. Marcus grips the edge of the desk, breath shallow, because if he keeps reading without stopping, something in him is going to break. His father didn't just know about Claire. His father orchestrated everything. The adoption, the payoffs, the silence. He bought Elena's secret and buried it so deep that not even Marcus, who built his career on finding buried information, could stumble across it. But why? "Jessica, I need my father's personal files. Everything from his estate." "Sir, those were destroyed per his will." "Not everything." Marcus's mind is already 3 steps ahead. "He had a safety deposit box. The bank sent me the key after he died. I never opened it. He'd been too angry at the funeral, too raw from losing the man who shaped him. The key went into a drawer in his desk where it sat for 8 years, gathering dust while Marcus built an empire his father would have been proud of. He pulls it out now. He almost puts it back. He hasn't opened it in 8 years. Not because he forgot, but because once he did, there would be no pretending his father was just gone, instead of still pulling strings. The metal is cold against his palm. In the vault, the envelope feels heavier than it should. His father's handwriting. No legal stamps. No threats. Just certainty. "Marcus, you found out about the girl. I always knew you would. I handled the adoption. I paid Margaret to keep Elena's life from collapsing under one mistake she never recovered from. When you met Elena, I recognized her immediately, and I kept my mouth shut. Not because it was right, because I saw the way you looked at her. After I died, Margaret refused my money. She said if the secret was going to be carried, it should be carried by the man who loved Elena, not the man who bought silence. Elena planned to tell you. She never got the chance. If you dig, people will bleed. But if you don't, you'll never breathe again. Dad." Marcus lowers the paper like it's burning his hands. Because now he understands. This wasn't a secret. It was an architecture. The letter slips from Marcus's fingers. He put Elena in Marcus's path like a chess piece, knowing exactly how it would play out. And Elena knew. She had to know. She met Marcus at that gala, let him fall in love with her, married him, all while knowing his father was the man who saved her from ruin. Their entire relationship was built on a foundation his father poured and Elena never questioned. Marcus's phone vibrates. A text from Jessica. Claire Donovan just posted on Instagram. She's in New York, visiting colleges with her parents. The city suddenly feels too small. Somewhere in Manhattan, his dead wife's daughter is walking past buildings Marcus owns, breathing air in a city that his father's money helped shape, completely unaware that the man who paid for her existence is standing in a vault clutching a letter that rewrites his entire history. And Marcus realizes with sickening clarity that the worst part isn't what his father did. The worst part is that he's about to do something worse. Because he's going to find Claire Donovan. He's going to meet her. And he's going to tell her a truth that will shatter her world the same way his just shattered. Not because it's right, but because he needs to look into those eyes, Elena's eyes, and know if any of it was real. Marcus finds her in Washington Square Park. She's sitting on a bench with 2 people who must be her parents, eating overpriced falafel from a food truck and laughing at something on her phone. The afternoon sun catches her hair, turns it the same honey brown that Elena's used to be before the chemo stole it. She's wearing a NYU sweatshirt, visiting colleges, just like Jessica said. She has no idea her entire world is about to detonate. Marcus watches from behind a tree like a stalker, like some obsessed stranger, and he hates himself for it. But he can't move, can't approach, can't stop staring at the way she tilts her head when she laughs. The exact angle Elena used to tilt hers when she found something genuinely funny versus when she was just being polite. 17 years old. The same age Elena was when she gave birth to her. When Marcus's father swooped in and made it all disappear. His phone buzzes. "Jessica, are you sure about this?" He's not sure about anything anymore. But he types back, "Yes." He's crossing the park before he can talk himself out of it. Claire Donovan? She looks up, and those eyes, Elena's eyes, meet his with complete innocence. No recognition. Why would there be? She's never seen his face. doesn't know his name, has no idea that his money paid for her first breath. Yes. She's polite, cautious. Her father is already standing, moving slightly between them, protective instinct kicking in. Marcus realizes he has no plan, no script. He's navigated billion-dollar negotiations with surgical precision, but now his mind is blank except for the question burning through his skull. Did your mother ever love me? Or was I just another debt she couldn't escape? I'm Marcus Hale. He extends his hand. I knew your birth mother. The words land like a bomb. Claire's face goes white. Her falafel drops onto the bench. Her mother, Susan, he remembers from the adoption records, makes a small wounded sound. How did you? Robert, the father, steps forward, and there's fear in his eyes now. We were told the adoption was closed. Sealed. That she'd never. She didn't. Marcus's voice is flat. Elena died 6 years ago. Cancer. Claire's hand flies to her mouth. She's shaking. She's dead. The question cuts deeper than it should, because Claire sounds devastated. Genuinely devastated. For a mother she never knew. A mother who gave her away and never looked back. I'm sorry. Marcus doesn't know why he's apologizing. I shouldn't have come here. This was a mistake. He turns to leave because suddenly he can't breathe, can't think, can't stand the weight of those eyes looking at him like he just killed someone in front of her. Wait. Claire's voice stops him. Please. I need to know. What was she like? And Marcus makes his second mistake of the day. He sits down on the bench and tells her. He tells her about Elena's laugh. About how she couldn't cook to save her life, but kept trying anyway. Kept burning dinners until their smoke alarm knew her better than their neighbors did. About how she read philosophy books in the bathtub and left post-it notes with terrible puns on his bathroom mirror. About how she died holding his hand, whispering, I'm sorry for things he didn't understand until 3 days ago. He doesn't tell her about his father. About the money. About the manipulation that built their lives like a house of cards. Not yet. Claire cries. Susan cries. Even Robert's eyes are wet. And Marcus sits there feeling like he's attending Elena's funeral all over again. Except this time, he's the one delivering the eulogy to a daughter who should hate her, but doesn't. Did she ever? Claire's voice breaks. Did she ever mention me? Ever wonder about me? The lie would be kind. The lie would be easy. But Marcus has spent 3 days drowning in lies, and he's so tired of swimming. I don't know. The truth tastes like ash. She never told me about you. I found out after she died. Claire flinches like he slapped her. But, Marcus continues, and he doesn't know why except that those eyes are Elena's eyes, and they're begging him for something. Anything. To hold on to. She kept your adoption records. Hidden in a box in our closet. I found them when I was packing up her things. She'd written a date on the folder. He's improvising now, making it up, but it feels true in a way that transcends fact. Your birthday. Every year, she'd written your birthday on the folder. Like she was counting. It's a lie, but it's the kind of lie that feels like mercy. Claire breaks down completely. Susan wraps her arms around her daughter while Robert stares at Marcus with an expression that's part gratitude, part suspicion. Why are you really here? Robert asks quietly. After 6 years? Marcus meets his eyes. Because I found out my father paid for the adoption. Paid Elena's mother to keep quiet. And I need to know if my wife married me because she loved me, or because she felt like she owed my family a debt she could never repay. The honesty shocks even him. Robert's expression shifts. Understanding, maybe. Or pity. And you thought meeting Claire would give you that answer? I don't know what I thought. They sit in silence. Claire is still crying into her mother's shoulder. People walk past giving them concerned looks. Somewhere in the distance, a street performer plays violin, the melody floating over the park like a ghost. I have something. Claire pulls away from Susan, wiping her eyes. She's digging in her backpack, pulling out her phone. Her hands are shaking so badly she almost drops it. My parents gave this to me when I turned 13. They said it came with my adoption papers. That my birth mother left it. She hands Marcus the phone. The screen shows a photograph of a letter. The handwriting is Elena's. He'd recognize it anywhere. To my daughter. I'm 17 years old, and I'm writing this in a hospital room 3 hours after you were born. You're in the nursery. I can see you through the window. You're perfect. I want you to know that giving you up is the hardest thing I'll ever do. But I'm doing it because I love you, not because I don't. I'm not ready to be your mother. I have nothing to give you except poverty and struggle and a childhood that would be harder than you deserve. The family adopting you can give you everything I can't. Stability, opportunity, a future that isn't defined by my mistakes. I hope you don't hate me for this choice. I hope you understand that sometimes love means letting go. I hope you have a beautiful life. If we ever meet, I hope you'll forgive me. Your mom. Marcus's vision blurs. His hands are shaking worse than Claire's now. She loved you, he says, and his voice cracks on the words. Whatever else was true, whatever else was a lie, she loved you. Claire nods, crying too hard to speak. And Marcus realizes he didn't come here for answers. Not really. He came here for permission to be angry, because anger is easier than grief. But the letter in his hand ruins that. Elena wasn't a villain. She was a girl who survived something she never spoke out loud, and spent the rest of her life trying to build something clean over a past that never stayed buried. He wanted proof she used him. Instead, he found proof she still loved. Quietly, imperfectly, and at a cost he never understood until now. I should go. Marcus stands. His legs feel like water. I'm sorry for ambushing you. For ruining your day. Wait. Robert stands too. I know this is insane. I know we just met. But would you want to have dinner with us? Tonight. Marcus stares at him. Why? Because you're the only person alive who knew her mother. And because my daughter is going to have 1,000 questions I can't answer. And because... Robert glances at Claire, then back at Marcus. Because I think you need this as much as she does. He's right. Marcus hates that he's right. Okay. The word comes out before he can stop it. Okay. They exchange numbers. Make plans. Claire hugs him before they leave, and Marcus stands frozen because the last time someone hugged him like this, desperate and grateful and full of need, it was Elena in a hospital bed telling him she was sorry for dying. He watches them walk away across the park, and then his phone rings. Jessica. She wouldn't call unless it was urgent. What is it? Mr. Hale, you need to see this. I kept digging into your father's files. There's something else. Something about the payments to Margaret. What about them? Jessica's voice drops to barely a whisper. They didn't stop when your father died. They transferred to a different account. An offshore account. And that account has been making payments to someone for the last 8 years. Ice floods Marcus's veins. Who? I don't know yet. But Marcus. She never uses his first name. Never. The payments are $50,000 a month. And they're still going out. Right now. Today. Someone has been bleeding his father's estate dry for 8 years. Someone who knows about Claire. About Elena. About everything. And Marcus just exposed himself by approaching Claire in public. Whoever's behind this knows he's hunting for answers. And they're about to make sure he doesn't find them. Marcus makes it back to his office before the first threat arrives. It's not a call. Not an email. Nothing traceable. It's a package waiting on his desk. Plain brown box with no return address. No shipping label. Nothing that would tell him where it came from or who sent it. Jessica is standing 3 feet away, her face drained of color. Security scanned it. It's clean. No explosives. No biologicals. But sir, I don't think you should. He's already opening it. Inside is a single photograph. It's him. From 40 minutes ago. In Washington Square Park. Sitting on a bench next to Claire Donovan. The angle is close. Too close. Taken from maybe 15 feet away. Whoever shot this was watching. Listening. Recording every word. There's no note. No message. Just the photograph and the promise it carries. We see you. We know what you're doing. Stop. Marcus's hands don't shake this time. They've moved past fear into something colder. Something sharp. Trace the offshore account, he says quietly. I don't care what it takes. I want to know who's been stealing from my father's estate, and I want to know in the next 2 hours. Jessica nods and disappears. Marcus is left alone with the photograph, staring at his own face frozen in a moment of vulnerability he didn't know was being captured. Someone is watching him. Someone who knew he'd find Claire. Someone who's been waiting for this exact moment. His mind catalogs the possibilities like he's running a threat assessment in a boardroom. Who would have access to his father's accounts? Who would know about the payments? Who stands to lose if the truth comes out? The answer walks through his door 90 minutes later. Not Jessica. Someone else. Thomas Brennan. His father's former attorney. The man who executed the will. The man who's had power of attorney over the estate's remaining assets for the last 8 years, managing trusts and foundations and charitable donations that Marcus never paid attention to because he trusted his father's judgment. He's 63 years old. Distinguished silver hair. Expensive suit. The kind of man who looks like he belongs in mahogany-paneled rooms making decisions that affect people's lives. Marcus. Thomas doesn't wait to be invited in. Just sits down across the desk like he owns the place. We need to talk. About the $50,000 a month you've been stealing from my father's estate. Thomas doesn't flinch. Doesn't deny it. Just smiles. And the smile is worse than any confession. I haven't stolen anything. Those payments are entirely legal. Documented. Part of a trust your father established before he died. A trust for who? That's privileged information. Marcus leans forward. The privilege died with my father. You're managing my inheritance. That makes it my business. Thomas slides a folder across the desk. It's not theft. It's a trust. Irrevocable. Marcus flips through the pages. Too many signatures, too many seals, too much confidence. $50,000 a month, Marcus says, voice flat. For decades. Thomas nods once. And the beneficiary stays anonymous. Your father wrote it that way for a reason. Who is it? Marcus's voice is ice. I can't tell you that. Can't or won't. Both. Thomas leans back, perfectly calm. Your father made me swear. He said if you ever came looking, I was to tell you to walk away. That some secrets are meant to stay buried. My father's dead. Your oath died with him. My oath was to protect someone who trusted him. That person is very much alive. Marcus stands. He's taller than Thomas, broader, younger. He spent his entire adult life learning how to intimidate people in boardrooms, how to make grown men flinch with a look. Tell me who it is, or I'll bury you in lawsuits that'll take everything you have. Thomas doesn't move. You won't. Because the moment you do, I'll release information about your wife that will destroy the memory you have of her. Information your father spent millions keeping quiet. Information that makes Claire Donovan's existence look like a footnote. The threat hangs in the air like poison gas. You're bluffing. Am I? Thomas pulls out his phone, taps the screen, turns it toward Marcus. This is a copy of a police report from 19 years ago. The original was sealed, expunged, made to disappear through channels your father had access to. But I kept a copy. Insurance, you might say. Marcus reads the screen, and with every word, his world crumbles a little more. Elena Reeves, age 15, reported to Portland police by hospital staff. Evidence of physical assault. Suspect identified as Michael Torres, age 17. Case closed 3 weeks later when victim recanted testimony. Recanted because Marcus's father paid her to. The room spins. Claire wasn't a mistake. Claire was violence. And Elena was a child who had her trauma erased with money, who gave birth to her predator's baby because she was too young, too scared, too broken to do anything else. And Marcus's father knew everything. And instead of helping her, instead of giving her justice, he paid her to be silent, paid her to give up the baby, paid her to bury it so deep that not even she could dig it back up. The beneficiary, Marcus whispers, is the predator. Thomas's expression doesn't change. The beneficiary is someone your father felt deserved compensation for services rendered. Services. The word tastes like vomit. What services? Michael Torres went to prison 2 years after Claire was born. Different victim. Different case. One your father couldn't make disappear. He's been in Attica for 15 years. Eligible for parole in 6 months. Understanding crashes over Marcus like a wave. My father's been paying him. To stay quiet about Elena. To never contact her. To let her believe the case just went away because these things happen. Your father was protecting her, Thomas says, and he actually sounds like he believes it. Protecting her reputation. Her future. Protecting you from knowing that the woman you married came with a history that would haunt you both. He was protecting himself. Marcus's voice is raw. He was protecting his investment. He paid off her attacker the same way he'd pay off a contractor who found asbestos. Just another problem to solve with money. And it worked. Elena got to live a normal life. She got to marry you. Got to be happy for the short time she had. Marcus wants to put his fist through Thomas's face. Through the desk. Through the walls. What happens when Torres gets parole? The payments continue. $50,000 a month. For the rest of his life. In exchange for his continued silence about Elena, about Claire, about everything. And if I refuse to honor the trust? If I cut him off? Thomas stands. Straightens his tie. Then he goes public. Tells his story to anyone who'll listen. Says your father paid him off. Says Elena accused an innocent man because she was ashamed of getting pregnant. Says she was a liar who destroyed his life. He assaults her. Can you prove it? The original report is sealed. The evidence collected at the hospital was destroyed per protocol after the case was closed. Elena's dead. There's no evidence except his word against a dead girl's recanted testimony. Thomas moves toward the door. Your father understood how the world works, Marcus. Sometimes justice is expensive. Sometimes the truth isn't worth what it costs. Get out. Thomas pauses at the door. For what it's worth, I am sorry. Your father put you in an impossible position, but he did it because he loved you. He wanted you to have a happy marriage, a clean legacy, a life not defined by other people's sins. He made me an accomplice to paying off a predator. He made you ignorant. There's a difference. Thomas opens the door. The dinner tonight with Claire and her family? I'd cancel it if I were you. The more you dig, the more people get hurt. Let sleeping monsters lie, Marcus. He leaves. The door clicks shut, and Marcus sits in his office, 60 floors above a city that suddenly feels like it's built on graves, understanding that every dollar his father ever gave him was laundered through someone's suffering. The money that paid for his education, his first startup, this building, all of it filtered through a system designed to keep victims silent and predators comfortable. His phone buzzes. Jessica, found something on the offshore account. You're not going to like it. I already know, Marcus says into the phone. It's paying off Elena's predator. Silence on the other end. Then no. I mean, yes, that too. But Marcus, there's another payment. A second beneficiary. Someone else has been getting money from the same trust. His blood turns to ice. Who? Margaret Reeves. Your mother-in-law. She's been getting $20,000 a month since your father died. The payments only stopped 4 months ago when she died. Marcus can't breathe. She knew. She knew my father was paying off the man who assaulted her daughter, and she took money to stay quiet about it. There's more. Jessica's voice cracks. Margaret's bank records show she wasn't sending all your $500 to Claire. She was sending it to someone else too. Split payments. Half to Claire, and half to a rehab center in upstate New York. For who? For Michael Torres's mother. She's been in and out of treatment for opioid addiction for 20 years. Margaret paid for every stay. The pieces slot together with sickening precision. Margaret knew who assaulted her daughter, knew the family, maybe even knew the mother, another woman destroyed by a violent son. And instead of demanding justice, she took Marcus's father's money and used it to help the attacker's mother while her own daughter died, never knowing the truth. Everyone knew. Everyone was paid. Everyone stayed silent. And Elena died, thinking her trauma just didn't matter enough to be believed. Marcus's dinner reservation is in 2 hours. He should cancel. Should walk away. Should let Claire keep her ignorance and her happy family and her mother's carefully constructed memory. But he's not going to. Because somewhere in Attica, Michael Torres is counting down to parole, getting ready to walk free with $50,000 a month waiting for him. And Marcus Hale didn't build an $8 billion empire by letting predators win. Marcus arrives at the restaurant 15 minutes early. Marcus watches the door like he's waiting for a verdict. Tell her, and destroy her. Lie, and become his father. Then Claire walks in smiling, and the decision stops being theoretical. Claire looks lighter than she did in the park. She's changed clothes, put on makeup, done her hair. She looks like she's going on a date, not dinner with a stranger who knew her dead mother. Robert and Susan flank her like bodyguards, protective but trying to seem relaxed. They sit, order wine, make small talk about NYU's campus, about Portland weather, about nothing that matters. And all the while, Claire keeps looking at Marcus like he's a museum exhibit, studying his face for traces of her mother. You have her nose, Marcus says suddenly. The words escape before he can stop them. Claire touches her face self-consciously. Really? And her hands. Long fingers. She played piano, was terrible at it, but loved it anyway. Claire's eyes fill with tears. Again. She cries easily, Marcus notes. Elena did too. Some people are built with their emotions close to the surface. Did she? Claire hesitates. Was she happy? Before she got sick? The question is a knife. Because the answer is complicated. Was Elena happy? Or was she performing happiness, the way people do when they're carrying trauma they can't talk about? How would Marcus even know the difference? She laughed a lot, he says carefully. She had this ridiculous sense of humor. Loved terrible puns. She'd leave them on post-it notes around our apartment. I'd find them in my briefcase, in my socks drawer, stuck to the bathroom mirror. He's not lying. This part is true. This part he knows. She sounds amazing. Claire is crying again. Susan hands her a napkin. Robert leans forward. Can I ask you something, Mr. Hale? Marcus. Marcus. Robert's eyes are sharp. Intelligent. This is a man who doesn't miss things. Why now? After 6 years, why track down Claire today? The question everyone's been avoiding. The one Marcus knew was coming. He could lie. Should lie. But he's so tired of lies. Because I found out my father paid for your adoption, Marcus says. And I needed to understand why. What it meant. If it changed anything about my marriage. Robert absorbs this. And does it? I don't know yet. Susan speaks for the first time. Your father sounds like he was a complicated man. That's a generous interpretation. Silence falls. The waiter brings appetizers no one ordered. They pick at calamari and bruschetta while Marcus watches Claire trace patterns in the condensation on her water glass. Can I tell you something? Claire's voice is quiet. Almost a whisper. Something I've never told anyone except my parents? Marcus nods. I used to hate her. Claire doesn't look up. My birth mother. When I was younger, like 12, 13, I'd lie in bed imagining all these scenarios where she was a horrible person. A drug addict. A prostitute. Someone who deserved to give me up. Because it hurt less than thinking she was just some normal girl who didn't want me. Her voice cracks. And then my parents gave me her letter. And I realized she was just a kid. 17. Scared. Trying to do the right thing. And I hated myself for hating her. She finally looks up. So thank you. For telling me she was funny. That she played piano badly. That she left stupid puns around your apartment. It makes her real. Makes her more than just a letter and a mistake. Marcus's chest tightens. Because Claire doesn't know. Doesn't know that Elena was 15, not 17. Doesn't know about the assaulted. About the monster who created her. About the empire of silence built to keep her ignorant. And Marcus makes his decision. She wasn't a mistake, he says firmly. And neither are you. He reaches into his jacket. Pulls out an envelope. Slides it across the table. What's this? Robert asks. A trust. In Claire's name. $2 million for college, graduate school, whatever she wants. It's clean money. Mine, not my father's. No strings. No conditions. Claire's mouth falls open. I can't accept. You can. And you will. Marcus's tone leaves no room for argument. Because your mother loved you. And I loved her. And this is the only thing I can still do for either of you. It's not mercy. It's guilt. But it looks the same from the outside. Susan is crying now too. Robert looks like he's been punched. Claire just stares at the envelope like it might explode. Why? She whispers. Because you deserve it. Because Elena would want you to have opportunities she didn't. Because, Marcus stops. Recalibrates. Because you're the only good thing that came from a situation that was mostly terrible. And good things deserve to be protected. He stands. The dinner hasn't even arrived yet, but he can't stay. Can't sit here pretending everything is fine when he's about to burn the world down. Wait. Claire stands too. Can I see you again? I have so many questions. About her. About what she was like. About. No. The word comes out harder than he intends. I'm sorry, Claire. But you need to stay away from me. From this whole situation. Trust me on this. But, listen to me. Marcus leans in, drops his voice. There are people who don't want this story told. People who will hurt you to keep their secrets. So take the money. Go to school. Live your life. And forget you ever met me. Robert is on his feet now too. Is she in danger? Not if she stays away from me. Not if she never asks questions about her biological father. The words land like bombs. Claire goes white. What do you know about my biological father? Everything. Marcus knows everything. Knows his name. His prison number. His parole date. Knows exactly how much he's being paid to stay quiet. Nothing you want to know, Marcus says. Trust me on that too. He leaves before they can stop him. Walks out into the cool New York night and pulls out his phone. Calls Jessica. I need 3 things, he says without preamble. First, get me everything on Michael Torres. Every detail of his life. His crimes. His victims. Everything. Already done, Jessica says. She knows him too well. Second, I need a meeting with the parole board. Tonight if possible. Tomorrow morning at the latest. On what grounds? I'm a concerned citizen with information relevant to an inmate's rehabilitation status. Make it happen. And third, Marcus looks back at the restaurant. Through the window, he can see Claire crying into Susan's shoulder while Robert holds them both. Find out if there's any way to break my father's trust. Any legal loophole. Any precedent. Because I'm not paying an attacker another dollar. Marcus. Jessica's voice is careful. If you cut off the payments, Thomas will release that police report. He'll destroy Elena's reputation. Elena's dead. Her reputation can't hurt her anymore. But it can hurt Claire. Marcus closes his eyes. I know. So what are you going to do? The question of the hour. The question that's been burning through him since he opened that police report. What's more important? Protecting a dead woman's memory? Or making sure her attacker doesn't profit from her silence? I'm going to do what my father should have done 19 years ago, Marcus says quietly. I'm going to make sure Michael Torres never sees another dollar. Never walks free. Never breathes air without looking over his shoulder. How? By giving the parole board a very compelling reason to deny his release. And if that doesn't work, I'll find another way. Money opens doors, Jessica. It can also close them. Permanently. He hangs up before she can argue. Because Marcus Hale just declared war on a system designed to protect predators with money. A system his father helped build. A system that's been running on autopilot for decades, grinding up victims and spitting out settlements. And he's about to find out what happens when you're rich enough to break the machine from the inside. His phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. You should have walked away. Now you've left us no choice. Attached is another photograph. This one is from inside the restaurant. Taken 5 minutes ago. Marcus standing at the table. Claire crying. The envelope between them. They're watching. They're always watching. And Marcus smiles. Because they just made a critical mistake. They think he cares about being watched. They think surveillance is a threat. But Marcus spent 20 years building a company in an industry where everyone spies on everyone. Where corporate espionage is Tuesday. Where your competitors would sell your kidney for market share. He doesn't fear being watched. He counts on it. Because now he knows they're paying attention. Now he knows they're scared. And scared people make mistakes. He texts back. Good. I want you to see what comes next. Then he makes one more call. Not to Jessica. Not to his lawyers. To a journalist at the New York Times who's been trying to interview him for 3 years. You still want that exclusive? Marcus asks when she picks up. Depends. What's the story? We won't run this fast, the reporter warns. It'll take days to verify, maybe weeks. But once it clears, it won't stop. How my father paid off an attacker to keep him quiet. How a billionaire's estate has been funding a prisoner for 15 years. How justice in America is just another commodity for people with enough money. Silence. Then, you're serious. I'm sending you files in 10 minutes. Police reports. Bank statements. Everything. You'll need to verify it all, obviously. But it's real. This will destroy your family's reputation. My family destroyed itself. I'm just writing the obituary. He hangs up, sends the files, watches the city lights blur below him. And somewhere in a prison upstate, Michael Torres has no idea his comfortable retirement just evaporated. Some monsters do get what they deserve. Marcus just has to be willing to become one to make it happen. The call comes at 3:47 a.m. Marcus is still awake, sitting in his penthouse going through Michael Torres's case files when his phone lights up with a number he doesn't recognize. He should ignore it. Probably another threat. Another warning. He answers anyway. Mr. Hale. The voice is female. Young. Terrified. My name is Detective Sarah Chun. I'm with the NYPD. There's been an incident. His blood turns to ice. What kind of incident? Your assistant, Jessica. She was attacked outside her apartment 2 hours ago. She's alive, but she's in critical condition at Mount Sinai. She's been asking for you. Marcus is moving before the detective finishes talking. Throwing on clothes. Calling his driver. His hand shakes so badly he can barely tie his shoes. Jessica. They went after Jessica. He makes it to the hospital in 12 minutes. Bursts through the emergency room doors like a hurricane. Detective Chun is waiting, a short woman with tired eyes and a notepad. Where is she? Surgery. She was injured. Collapsed lung, internal bleeding. The doctors say she'll survive, but who did this? Chin's expression hardens. She said it was a mugging. Random attack. But Mr. Hale, I've been a cop for 15 years. I know what random looks like. This wasn't random. What did she tell you? Nothing useful. Said she didn't see the attacker's face. Said they took her purse and ran. But here's the thing. Chin pulls out an evidence bag. Inside is Jessica's phone. Her phone was in her pocket. Untouched. Her wallet was in her purse. But the attacker left cash and credit cards. They only took one thing. What? A flash drive she was carrying. Your assistant mentioned it right before the anesthesia kicked in. Said you'd know what it meant. Marcus knows exactly what it means. The flash drive contained everything. Every file on his father's trust. Every payment to Torres. Every piece of evidence he'd gathered. Jessica was bringing him backup copies because she's paranoid about digital security, always has been. Someone knew. Someone intercepted her. Someone attacked her and left critically injured just to take a flash drive. I need to see her. She's still in surgery. But Mr. Hale, I need you to tell me what's really going on. Because that flash drive matters enough that someone was willing to kill for it. Marcus should tell her everything. Should hand over what's left of his evidence and let the police handle it. That's what innocent people do. What victims do. But Marcus isn't a victim anymore. I can't help you, detective. I'm sorry. Chen's eyes narrow. Can't or won't. Both. He checks his phone. The files he sent out, gone. The backups, wiped. Someone isn't just watching him. Someone is inside his systems. Another message hits the screen. Walk away. Check your email. Marcus opens the attachment, and his blood turns cold. Marcus opens his email. New message. No subject line. Just a video attachment. He presses play. The footage is grainy, security camera quality. It shows Claire Donovan walking to her hotel. She's alone. It's dark. The timestamp says tonight, 30 minutes ago. The camera follows her to the entrance. Watches her go inside. The video ends. The message is clear. We know where she is. We can get to her anytime we want. Marcus's hands clench so hard his phone case cracks. They're threatening Claire now. An innocent girl who doesn't even know what she's part of. A girl whose only crime is existing as proof of a assaulted that powerful people paid to erase. Another text. You have 12 hours to kill the story. Tell the Times reporter you made a mistake. Tell her the documents were fabricated. Make it go away, or we make Claire go away. Marcus stares at the screen. 12 hours. In 12 hours, the Times article goes live. In 12 hours, Michael Torres's payments become public record. In 12 hours, everyone knows what Marcus's father did. Or Claire dies. The equation is simple. Brutal. Exactly the kind of calculation his father would have made. One girl's life versus justice for a crime that happened 17 years ago. One innocent versus exposing a system designed to protect predators. What's the right answer? What would Elena want him to do? He's still wrestling with the question when a doctor appears in the waiting room doorway. Mr. Hale, your assistant is out of surgery. She's stable. You can see her, but only for a few minutes. Jessica looks small in the hospital bed. Tubes and wires connect her to machines that beep steadily. Her face is pale, bruised. But her eyes are open. Alert. You look terrible, she whispers. Marcus almost laughs. You got attacked and left critically injured, and you're worried about how I look? Someone has to. She tries to sit up, winces. Did they get the drive? Yes. Doesn't matter. I uploaded everything to a server before I left the office. Encrypted. Offshore. They can't touch it. Of course she did. Jessica is always 3 steps ahead. They threatened Claire. Marcus says quietly. Said they'll kill her if I don't kill the story. Jessica's expression hardens. So kill it. Marcus stares at her. What? Kill the story, Marcus. Let Torres keep his blood money. Let the trust continue. Protect that girl. She reaches for his hand, grips it weakly. I didn't get attacked and left critically injured so you could sacrifice a 17-year-old to make a point. It's not about making a point. It's about justice. Justice for who? Elena's dead. She doesn't get justice. She gets peace. And you get to decide if her daughter lives or dies based on how badly you need revenge. The words hit like bullets. This isn't revenge. Yes, it is. And I get it. I do. But Marcus, I've worked for you for 9 years. I've seen you destroy competitors. I've seen you crush people who got in your way. I've watched you win every battle you've ever fought. Her grip tightens. Don't let this be the one that turns you into the kind of man your father was. The machines beep. Somewhere down the hall, someone codes. Nurses rush past. What if I can do both? Marcus asks. What if I can protect Claire and destroy Torres? How? By giving them what they want. And then taking everything. Jessica studies his face. You have a plan. The beginning of one. Is it legal? Mostly. Will it work? I don't know yet. But it's better than choosing between justice and Claire's life. A nurse appears in the doorway. Time's up, Mr. Hale. Marcus stands. Squeezes Jessica's hand. Rest. I'll handle this. Marcus. She stops him at the door. Whatever you're planning, be careful. These people already proved they'll kill to keep their secrets. So have I. He leaves before she can ask what he means. Outside the hospital, the sun is starting to rise over Manhattan. The city is waking up. Millions of people starting their days completely unaware that somewhere in this vast machine, a war is being fought over a secret that should have died 17 years ago. Marcus pulls out his phone, calls the Times reporter. Kill the story, he says when she answers. What? But you said. I made a mistake. The documents were incomplete. I need more time to verify everything. Silence. Then, Mr. Hale, are you being threatened? No. I'm being smart. Give me 3 days. If I can't verify everything by then, the story dies permanently. She agrees reluctantly. Marcus hangs up and immediately makes another call. Thomas Brennan's office. This is Marcus Hale. I need to see Thomas immediately. Tell him I'm ready to negotiate. 20 minutes later, Marcus is sitting across from Thomas in his office. Same smug expression. Same expensive suit. You're doing the right thing, Thomas says. Your father would be proud. I'm not doing this for my father. Marcus slides a document across the desk. I'm doing this for Claire. And for myself. So here's the deal. I'll honor the trust. Torres gets his money. But I want something in return. Thomas picks up the document. Reads it. His expression shifts from confidence to confusion. You want to meet him? Torres? In prison? Yes. Why? Because I need to look him in the eye. I need to understand who he is. What kind of monster gets paid for destroying a 15-year-old girl's life? That's not wise. I don't care. Those are my terms. I meet Torres, or I go back to the Times and damn the consequences. Thomas considers this. Weighs the options. Finally nods. I'll arrange it. But Marcus, seeing him won't give you what you're looking for. What am I looking for? Closure. Understanding. Some kind of explanation that makes sense of what happened. Thomas leans back. You won't find it. Men like Torres don't have reasons. They have opportunities. And your father gave him the biggest opportunity of his life. Marcus stands. Set up the meeting. Tomorrow. And if I do, if you meet him, you'll leave this alone. I'll honor the trust. Torres gets his money. But Thomas. Marcus leans over the desk. If anything happens to Claire Donovan, if she gets so much as a scratch, I'll assume it's your people. And I'll bury you so deep they'll need archaeology to find the pieces. Thomas doesn't flinch. Understood. Marcus leaves. Steps into the elevator. Watches the floors count down. And he smiles. Because Thomas just confirmed everything Marcus suspected. There is no they. No secret organization. No shadowy conspiracy. It's just Thomas. Just one lawyer protecting one client. Because that's what lawyers do. He attacked and left critically injured Jessica himself or hired someone to do it. He's been watching Marcus, threatening him, trying to scare him into backing down. And Marcus just convinced him he won. Now comes the hard part. Now comes the visit to Attica. Now Marcus has to sit across from the man who assaulted Elena and pretend he's there to negotiate. When really, he's there to plant the seed of Michael Torres's destruction. Some traps take years to spring. Marcus has 3 days. Attica Correctional Facility sits 250 miles north of Manhattan. Marcus makes the drive in silence, his driver sensing that conversation would be unwelcome. The landscape shifts from glass towers to farmland to the imposing concrete walls that house some of New York's most violent offenders. Michael Torres is waiting in a private visiting room. Thomas arranged it, pulled strings, made sure they'd have privacy for their negotiation. The man who walks through the door doesn't look like a monster. That's the thing people never understand. Monsters look like everyone else. Torres is 42 now. Average height. Graying hair. The kind of face you'd forget in a crowd. He's wearing prison orange, but he carries himself with the casual confidence of someone who knows he's winning. He sits down across from Marcus and smiles. Mr. Hale, I've been looking forward to this. Marcus's hands clench under the table. This man assaulted Elena. Put his hands on a 15-year-old child. Created Claire through violence. And he's smiling like they're business partners. Have you? Marcus keeps his voice flat. Neutral. Your father was a brilliant man. Practical. He understood that sometimes accidents happen. That young girls make accusations they later regret. That the truth is whatever you can afford to make it. Is that what you tell yourself? That Elena lied. Torres leans back. Elena was a confused kid who made a mistake and needed someone to blame. I gave her what she wanted. And your father gave us both what we needed to move on. The casual dismissal makes Marcus want to reach across the table and crush Torres's windpipe. But he doesn't, because he's here for information. For the one piece he's missing. Why did my father pay you? Marcus asks. You went to prison anyway. Different victim. Different case. You could have exposed him any time. Torres's smile widens. Could I? Think about it, Mr. Hale. I'm a convicted attacker. Your father was a billionaire philanthropist. Who would believe me if I said he paid me off? Who would care? He leans forward. But your father was smart. He knew I might try anyway. So he bought insurance. What kind of insurance? He made me complicit. Every payment I accepted made me guilty of extortion. Every dollar tied me closer to him. If I exposed the payoff, I'd be confessing to blackmail, adding years to my sentence. Torres shrugs. Your father didn't pay me to stay quiet. He paid me to become a criminal who couldn't afford to tell the truth. The elegance of it makes Marcus sick. His father didn't just silence Torres. He weaponized him, turned him into a bomb that would explode in his own face if he ever tried to detonate it. But you're getting out in 6 months, Marcus says. Parole approved. What happens then? Then I retire comfortably on $50,000 a month. Maybe travel. Maybe write a book about my experience in the justice system. Torres's eyes glitter. Or maybe I finally tell my story. Depends on whether the payments continue. There it is. The threat beneath the negotiation. Pay or I talk. Marcus pulls out an envelope. Slides it across the table. New terms. $100,000 a month instead of 50. But you disappear. New identity. New city. You never contact Claire. Never speak about Elena. You take the money and you vanish. Torres opens the envelope. Reads the contract inside. His smile grows. You're offering me double to do what I was already going to do. What? Because I don't want Claire ever knowing her father is an attacker. She deserves better than that truth. How noble. Torres signs the contract without hesitation. Your father would approve. He believed in solving problems with money too. Marcus watches him sign. Watches the pen move across paper. Watches Michael Torres seal his own fate. Because the contract is fake. The account it references doesn't exist. The payments will never come. And in 3 hours, when Torres tries to verify the funds, he'll find nothing. But more importantly, he just signed a document admitting to extortion. Admitting he's been receiving payments to stay silent. Admitting he was involved in Elena's case. And Marcus recorded every word. The pen in front of Torres isn't a pen. It's a camera. The button on Marcus's jacket isn't a button. It's a microphone. Every confession, every threat, every casual admission of guilt, all captured in high definition. We're done here, Marcus says, standing. Torres looks up. That's it. No questions about your wife? About what really happened? Marcus pauses at the door. I know what happened. A monster hurt a child and got paid for it. But monsters don't stay hidden forever, Mr. Torres. Eventually, someone shines a light. He leaves before Torres can respond. Outside, Marcus climbs into his car and pulls out his phone. Sends the video files to 3 different locations, the New York Times, the district attorney's office, and the parole board. Then he makes one final call. To Detective Chun. I have information about an ongoing extortion case, he says. And evidence of witness tampering related to a assaulted case from 17 years ago. Within 12 hours, Torres's parole hearing is put on suspended pending investigation. Within 48, the DA opens a preliminary investigation. Weeks later, Torres is back in lockdown, this time with no calendar. The DA opens a criminal probe into the payments. And the Times runs a story not about Marcus's father, but about systemic failures in the justice system that allow predators to profit from their crimes. Elena's name never appears. Neither does Claire's. Just an unnamed victim, whose case was buried under money and silence. Marcus watches the story break from his office. Watches it spread across social media. Watches legal experts dissect how someone could receive payments for 15 years without anyone noticing. His phone rings. Thomas Brennan. Marcus doesn't answer. Another call. Detective Chun. He picks up. Mr. Hale, I don't know how you did it, but Torres is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. The evidence you provided is airtight. Good. But I need to ask. The stabbing of your assistant. Do you have proof Thomas Brennan was involved? Marcus thinks about the flash drive. About Jessica bleeding on a sidewalk. About all the evidence that got destroyed. No proof, he says. But you might want to look into his financial records. See if any payments correlate with the attack timeline. Shin is quiet for a moment. I'll do that. And Mr. Hale? Whatever your father did, you're not him. What you did today proves that. She hangs up. Marcus isn't sure she's right. Because he manipulated Torres the same way his father would have. Used money and deception. Became the kind of man he swore he'd never be. His office door opens. Jessica, leaning on a cane, looking pale but alive. You're supposed to be in the hospital. And you're supposed to keep me updated. She lowers herself carefully into a chair. I saw the news. Torres is done. The trust is frozen. How'd you get him to confess? I told him what he wanted to hear. And he hung himself with the rope I gave him. Jessica studies him carefully. Your father would have done the same thing. I know. But he would have kept the secret buried. Protected his reputation over everything else. She leans forward. You burned it all down to save a girl you barely know. That's the difference. What about Claire? Jessica asks. Does she know? No. And she never will if I can help it. Marcus pulls up his email. Her parents called this morning. They're taking her back to Portland. Away from New York. Away from this mess. The trust one set up will pay for her education. She'll never know her biological father spent his life in prison for assaulted. She'll never know you saved her either. Good. She doesn't need to carry that weight. They sit in silence for a moment. Outside, the city continues its endless rhythm. Millions of people living their lives, unaware of the small war that just ended 60 floors above them. Marcus's phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. His heart stops. Another threat. Another photograph. Another. But when he opens it, he sees Claire's face. She's smiling, standing in front of NYU with her acceptance letter. The text reads, Thank you. I don't know what you did, but my parents told me you made this possible. I promise I'll make the most of it. I'll make her proud. Elena's daughter. Safe. Happy. Moving forward into a future that violence tried to steal from her. Marcus types back. She'd already be proud. Be good, Claire. He deletes the thread. Deletes her number. Cuts the last thread connecting him to Elena's hidden past. Jessica watches him. You okay? Marcus doesn't answer immediately. He protected an innocent girl, but he did it with the same tools his father used. Money, leverage, deception. The question isn't whether he won. It's what the win cost him. Yeah, he says finally. I'm okay. It's not true, but it's the truth he can afford to tell. Jessica nods. Stands slowly. I'm going back to the hospital. Doctor's orders. But Marcus? When this is all processed, when you've had time to think it through, remember something. What? Your father spent his whole life buying silence. You spent 3 days burning for justice. The methods might look the same from the outside, but the reasons matter. They always matter. She leaves. Marcus sits alone in his office, watching the sun set over Manhattan. In 6 years, he sent Margaret $500 a month, thinking it was charity, thinking it was closure, thinking it was the right thing to do. He never imagined that money would lead him here. To a prison confession. To a daughter who shares Elena's eyes. To the knowledge that everything he built his life on was constructed over someone else's suffering. The transfer goes through at exactly 9:47 a.m. on the 1st of every month. But not anymore. Margaret is gone. Torres is destroyed. The trust is frozen. And Marcus Hale is free from a debt he never knew he owed. He pulls up Elena's photo on his phone. The last good picture before the cancer. She's laughing at something off camera. Young. Beautiful. Full of secrets she carried to her grave. I got him, Marcus whispers to the photo. I don't know if that's what you would have wanted. But I got him. The photo doesn't answer. Photos never do. Somewhere between justice and revenge, Marcus understands what his father never did. Money can buy silence, but it can't erase what was done. The only thing it can buy is a chance. A chance to stop the next monster. A chance to protect one innocent life from becoming collateral. The transfer goes through at exactly 9:47 a.m. on the 1st of every month. But not anymore.